Hello and welcome to another episode of the Dumb and Dumbest Podcast, a music industry podcast where everything is terrible and the house is on fire, and we really need to pre-record this intro so that my radiant, glorious, beautiful, aged, many children, fertile, masculine co-host Curtis Stewart doesn't cough during it.
That's true. I don't, ever.
Except just now.
Mm-hmm.
Point being, I'm Matt Bacon, and today we are talking about...
We're talking about consistency in posting and in other areas of your business.
Yeah. And this is a surprisingly hard one.
Mm-hmm.
So let's kind of dig into it.
Let's do it. So number one thing you need to be consistent at would be, in my opinion, when having an exact time when you're going to be working on your music business, because one thing that I've noticed is a lot of bands don't actually treat it like a business. They kind of treat it like a hobby. So, and then they get hobby results due to doing that, right? So if you were going to be working for someone else, you'd be on a set schedule, right? So you should have certain hours during the week that you use to actually promote your band, not just go to band practice, but promote your band. Would you not agree with that, Matt?
Absolutely.
And the main thing that you got to realize is that if you're not consistently promoting yourself, then you're never going to get anywhere. So you should be doing at least a few hours a week, preferably an hour or two every single day, which I know is a lot. But I mean, if you want to get to be the professional level, you got to do the professional things. It's just the way it works. And until you can hire a social media manager, you're the person that's doing it, or one of your other band members are doing it, and you got no one else but yourselves unless you got a volunteer.
And the thing is, even when you have a social media manager, you still need to generate a ton of content for them if you want it to be meaningful.
You do. Oh, that's another thing. That's another thing too, is like Matt said, if you are going to hire a social media manager, don't expect that they're just going to have all this content that they're magically going to pull out of their ass. They are going to need stuff from you.
Although I can pull a lot of content magically out of my ass. What?
You know what I mean.
Yeah, but by and large, I think there's sort of this assumption that I'm going to hire a social media manager and not have to worry about that aspect ever again.
Exactly. You are going to have to send them pictures for Instagram and stuff. There's no some magical way that they're going to magically get pictures for you, or they're going to have they're going to need something from you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and also to get it done properly, where they're replying to every comment pretending to be you or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
That's so much. That's so much money, because that's at that point basically 3 or 4 hours a day.
At least, yeah. And then searching for comments about to comment on and stuff like that. You can get a little bit nutty.
Yeah, the amount, if I charge someone for the amount of time I spend searching for comments every day, no, I don't think anyone would pay me for that. Yeah. And that's not because I don't think it would be worth it, but I think it's because, if you want 3 or 4 hours of my time every day, you're looking at, and that's 7 days a week.
Yeah.
You'd be looking at $4,500 a month.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy. And the thing is, I don't know, most social media management isn't something I especially enjoy, and I don't think a lot of people are really looking forward to, at least for smaller bands. It's really about kind of developing your personal interactions. So and this is, I think, something important, is there's definitely an argument to be made that nothing's happening for my band right now, so I don't really want to post.
Yeah.
Okay, well, if you're not going to be posting about your band, at least be fucking active in groups, active on Twitter, active in the community. You know what I mean? The same way that no one's going to listen to your band unless you're, in the 80s or 90s, it'd be oh, well, no one's going to listen to my band unless we're active in the scene. Nobody would just randomly discover people's bands. They had to meet you at a bar or something.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. You can just do that constantly now, and you don't have to go spend money at a bar.
Yeah. And the other thing too is, even if you don't have content to post, you got to figure it out and just make something. You just have to.
Absolutely.
It's just the way it goes. And you always have to be thinking of something, and you can't use the excuse that, you got to work that day or you got family time or something. It literally takes 2 minutes to come up with a post. even if it's something stupid. Even if it's stupid and you got nothing else to do, just put it out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Because like the thing is too, like you have to remember that promoters and stuff look at this. They want to see that you're active. Like even if it's not doing anything productive for you, it's a question of like, oh, well, there's the dedication. There's the like these
Well,
guys.
here's the thing though, is that it always will do something productive for them because of the fact, like you've always said about the rule of 7, if people like it will show up in people's algorithm, you know,
Yeah,
so they're not
eventually.
forgotten. Yeah, so they're not forgotten about even if they're consistently posting, right?
Absolutely. And that's definitely a big part of it in my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, is like, yeah, you have, if you want to do this properly and in a way that sort of gets meaningful results, you need to be at it constantly and you need to be figuring out like, but at the end of the day, I think we talked about this in a previous episode, like content ideas, like 5 content ideas right now that require literally nothing to go on in your band's life. Ready? 1, shout out another band in your scene. 2,
Boom.
shout out a classic band.
Boom.
Like a weird, obscure classic band, ideally, you know? Okay. 3, share a meme. Fucking 4, ask like a direct question to your fan base.
Yeah.
And the 5th one that I always do is like share a cool live shot from the band, you know, because like odds are if you're an established band, if you give enough of a shit to be listening to this, you've probably been doing this for a few years.
Mm-hmm.
So even if this isn't your first band, like you can go out and say like, oh, okay, well, here's a picture of me playing with my old band.
Yeah. And
So,
if you don't want to do any of those, you can share this podcast.
yeah, that's a 6 piece of content. It's like cool music industry things that make you look like you're smart.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah, or anything that makes you look like you're smart. But one thing you don't want to do, don't post political stuff.
Yeah. You're not as smart as you think you are.
Yeah.
And it's only going to alienate people.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, even if you post maybe a more popular opinion, there's still people, and even if, okay, let's say you're like a stoner rock band from California.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Or better, what's the genre that's like a grindcore band from California?
Yeah, grindcore.
Okay. So it's like all leftist, yada yada. Okay, great. Well, you know, there's still like massive divisions within the left that are just going to alienate people, and that's not really, I don't know, like unless your entire thing is like highly politicized grindcore, you know, in which case, good luck.
Well, there's one other point I would really like to make, which is the fact that as a Canadian, I don't care about British and American politics, and
exactly.
I'm getting really turned off by seeing all these people talking about it, like both British and American. Like, I don't see that many Canadians going off about it. I guess just because all we got over here is stupid pot laws. But I mean, like, the rest of the world doesn't care. Honestly, we don't.
Yeah.
And you all think we do, but we don't.
Yeah. Like, if you're going to make a political post, fucking talk about Myanmar, you fucking entitled fuck.
There you go. Talk about Myanmar. Talk about the plight of refugees over in Zimbabwe has refugees, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, and how about, you know, the labor camps in China? Like,
there you go.
Like, fucking think for a second, you dumbass.
There you go. Let's talk about that.
Like, there's so many better things to be angry about.
Yeah.
I
agree.
Like, Jesus Christ. Anyway, so all this being said,
mm-hmm.
posting every day is not that hard, and that consistency is key. Now, I want to kind of move on, though. We don't have a lot of time. I've got a phone conference in a few minutes here. I think it's also important to emphasize that this isn't that consistency in your posting isn't the only way you need to manifest consistency.
Yeah.
Like, you also need consistency in, you know, your release schedule, right? There's so many bands who don't, you know, who go like 3 or 4 years between releases and then wonder why they get stuck somewhere. And it's because they went 3 or 4 years between releases.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's like, I appreciate you wanted to put together something really special, but at least like one thing I always have, like, there's ways to do it. One thing I always have my bands do is I love doing EPs that are literally just a single, a nice live track or two, and a cover or two.
Kind of like what RuneScarred's doing right now.
Yeah, it's kind of like what RuneScar's doing right now, except I think their live recording got botched, which is frustrating because I know they paid for it and stuff.
I didn't even know about the live recording. Okay.
Yeah, like but yeah, and guess what? That means that RuneScarred is a new band who released one traditional EP, and now 6 months later they have another batch of
Yep.
content out that looks good on their Bandcamp,
Yep.
and they're working on a new record. So guess what? Fuck, man, that's like a ton of great content all at once.
Yeah.
People are gonna fucking connect to that.
And the other thing too is it makes sure that they're not kept out of people's views for too long, specifically reviewers. I mean, they're not getting a ton of reviews on singles because you don't get many reviews on singles, but the point is they're still in people's faces and they're not going to be forgotten about.
Yeah, that's sort of why I prefer the EP model.
Yeah.
Again, for something short and sweet and easy. But you see this all the time with Ghost do it constantly. Like Ghost released so many EPs. Napalm Records does it with a lot of their bands. Which I personally think is like a brilliant move to be, because a lot of the EPs they release are not like highfalutin fucking concept things. It's literally, it's very clearly marketed as like, no, here's just, we know that you'll listen to fucking Ailstorm covering this folk metal band and this folk metal band covering Ailstorm.
Yeah.
And it's not predatory or weird. It's literally just, hey, here's something cool and easy that we think you'll enjoy as, kind of nerds or whatever. And there's huge value to that, especially if you're a label like Napalm, where it's more about the I wouldn't see that model working as well for someone like Prophecy, just because Prophecy's releases are so much more highfalutin, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
It's like the box set with the vinyl, although we do EPs, but I think if you're like, we're just going to fucking launch out a digital only thing just to fucking supplement, or if you have a huge budget like Ghost and you're like, okay, we're just going to drop any other EP of covers, that's really meaningful and powerful and keeps you in people's faces. And it's a nice boost to sort of grow the brand and also sort of call back. Avenged Sevenfold do that all the time. They did that with their new record where they dropped a bunch of singles after the fact, and then they turned around and now they're dropping like a Call of Duty EP or something.
Yep.
And guess what? That Call of Duty EP is fucking pretty much all songs that were already out, but they're just repackaging it. That's why you see bands do like rarities EPs all the time. Sometimes it's legitimately because this is a weird punk band who did 30 splits. And sometimes, which for archival purposes is really important. But other times it's just that's how we stay in the public eye. Fucking look at Primitive Man. Primitive Man are the perfect example of this. This is part of why splits are so good too. And why you can do, again, on a split, you can totally do single live track cover. Or if it's a 7-inch, you can literally just throw together a cover. Primitive Man have 2 records and fucking 16 fucking releases. They are constantly in your face. They released 3 things in 2017, 2 things in 2016, 2 things in 2015, 5 things in 2014.
They're beasts.
2 things this year. Maybe they'll even drop another. I legitimately don't know. I know Evan, or Ethan, but I don't know what their plans are.
Yeah.
But you get what I'm saying. They tour constantly and they don't give a shit. It's not about, I don't know, trying to impress someone or something. It's just no, this is how we fucking stay in the eye. Which is, again, why splits are really cool and why why you got to keep it up.
Yep. So we should probably wrap this up, Matt, if you got to get on a phone call.
Absolutely. Good. So thank you guys so much for listening. Curtis, what do you have to plug?
I don't really have much to plug for myself today, but I do want to mention that if you do want some help with your social media, go to Matt and get the feedback done from him. It's only $50 a month, And the feedback I've gotten from his feedback is that people are really enjoying it, and it's actually helped them quite a bit. So at $50 a month, I think it's a steal. So I would go to him and
$10
ask him
a
to.
band member.
There you go. It's cheap. So go do it. Worst case scenario, you get some good advice. Worst case scenario, he gives you a ton of shitty advice and you're only out $50. It's really not a big deal. Anyways, that's all I got to say.
Yeah, absolutely. Good. Otherwise, yeah, like I said, I'm still so weirded out not having Prophecy Fest to worry about. I just want to give a shout out to the Kerrang people who put together a really fun party last night that I went to.
Ooh, someone's hanging out at Kerrang.
Yeah. So,
Ooh.
Sorry I'm more important than you, Curtis.
Ooh.
Otherwise, let's see. What should I plug today? I've got a lot. There's a new Cyclona video coming out today, which I think will be yesterday when you hear this. But Cyclona are really good. They're like a Ripple signing that I happen to particularly enjoy from the UK. So let's talk about that, and then let's also say, I've got some cool projects in the works. I think you guys are gonna like. Curtis and I have our webinar coming out later next week, I believe. As soon as Curtis
figure out how to use the software, which is a lot more complex than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, so Curtis learned to read the goddamn manual.
No, I did, but it's not working like it said it was supposed to. So I got to figure out what I'm doing wrong.
Okay. Anyway, so Curtis and I are going to have a conversation about that, and we'll go from there. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. It really means a lot. And now we are.